A lot of feminists say that Dollhouse is this big display of rape that isn't ever acknowledged. It is acknowledged in the words prostitution and human trafficking.
This is prostitution. Human trafficking.
I guess I can understand people not recognizing it in the strange science fiction premise, though. I think that rape occurs within the normal operation of the dollhouse, but it's hard to say exactly how, given the weird science fiction premise. The problem is we're just not used to conceptualizing this kind of thing. We're used to conceptualizing how things work in the real world, and we try to apply those rules to the dollhouse universe. In the real world, a person is both mind and body, indistinguishably and simultaneously, and that's not how it works in Dollhouse. And it's hard for us to change the way we understand personhood, but we have to in order to understand how rape occurs in the dollhouse. I have some thoughts on how to conceptualize identity in this fictional scenario, breaking identity down into 3 distinct parts: original personality, the soul or base personality, and artificial imprinted personalities. Generally, the original personality and the soul are connected and considered indistinguishable until a person is made inactive, and the original personality is put into a wedge, a hard drive. The wiped active is then given the submissive and childlike tabula rasa state. And then there's these subsequent personalities that are imprinted on top of the tabula rasa. But some aspects of the soul always show through, like Sierra and Victor are attracted to each other, and no matter what personalities are imprinted onto them, they're still attracted to each other. The soul is similar to the original personality, but without its memories, it can be considered a different person. Actives with multiple personalities, the composites, are essentially souls in control of these bodies with many different personality types that they can slip in and out of. When Ballard's mind joins the Alpha Collective, the collective good of the imprints are able to overpower the evil represented by Alpha's soul, and Alpha becomes good. The main concern about rape in Dollhouse concerns the most obvious function of becoming inactive. The original personality signs a 5-year contract to have herself or himself be wiped, and then the body would then be imprinted with a variety of personalities over that 5-year period, and the signature on the contract is consent to whatever goes on during that period. But the original personality can't possibly give meaningful consent to every single sexual encounter that their bodies are going to be introduced to during that period, because the person just doesn't understand it and can't revoke consent. It's sort of institutionalized rape. And I think Joss would agree with that point. Of course, identity is a bit more complicated than that. The second concern relates to rape of the soul as a distinct personality from the original personality. In the episode Omega, Echo's original personality Caroline is imprinted in a different body, and soul-driven actives Alpha and Echo harshly criticize Caroline for abandoning her body to be raped. As they see it, the original personality is a rapist working with the dollhouse in selling a completely different person into slavery. The different person in this case has many similar personality traits to the original personality due to the underlying soul, but it is a distinct person living without the original personality. The third concern is related to the ability of imprints to consent to sex. There are no rape scenarios, but it is impossible for them to give meaningful consent because they have this completely warped understanding of the universe. The imprint consents to sex with the client only because Topher programs them to. They don't feel any, I am just saying this as a robot, but I'm screaming in my head. They don't feel that. To them, they meet this wonderful guy and, to them, they're complete, whole, distinct people who meet these wonderful people and go out with them and then have sex with them consensually, even though the entire scenario was created. I tend to think that imprints are real people who can make conscious choices, so they can consent to sex, but unless the client is telling them all about the dollhouse and what's going on, it is rape because the client is being deceptive. However, it gets more complicated when the soul is capable of glitching its self-awareness past the imprint boundaries. The imprint's consent does not extend to the soul. A big question pertinent to the analysis of Dollhouse rape is who owns the body? If it's the original personality, as the Dollhouse people seem to believe, any sexual contact that goes on without the original personality's explicit consent would be rape. Sexual activity consented to by the imprints or the soul would be meaningless. That is the argument generally put forward by feminists, but the show challenges this conceptualization of identity. Claire Saunders is an imprint, and she does not want to be replaced by her original personality. After Alpha killed the original Dr. Saunders, Topher took this damaged active and imprinted her to be the replacement Dr. Saunders. She functions for months before finding out she's an active, and then she's terrified of being wiped. She neglects to have her facial scars healed out of fear that Adele would see her as more valuable, earning money for the Dollhouse as an active, and with Boyd's help, she tries to run away from the Dollhouse. Here, the imprint asserts an identity distinct from the original personality, and she is more deserving of respect than the original personality because the original personality isn't there anymore, and having her be replaced with the original personality would mean death to that imprint. So she runs, and that original personality can't come back, that contract is violated, but I don't think it matters. Claire Saunders exists. She is a person. She has the right to exist. She runs away so that the Dollhouse doesn't kill her. If Claire were to have consensual sex, then I don't think that it would be rape. I don't think the original personality has claim to that body anymore. The Dollhouse would say that the original personality owns whiskey, but the Dollhouse is slavery. To them, Claire is a slave without rights. Outside Dollhouse morality, in my own morality, I would say that Claire has an inalienable right to that body. Unless Whiskey the soul shows signs of really wanting that original personality, I don't see any issue in letting Claire Saunders keep that body. It's like Judith Jarvis Thompson's violinist defense of abortion, where she says that a person has right to their bodily integrity, even if that means killing someone. It's not right to take away that bodily integrity. What if they were both in there together? What about composites? Alpha and Echo flip through all their imprints while maintaining a general collective identity steered by the soul. Before Ballard's imprint takes control, Alpha has extreme difficulty keeping a handle on all his imprints, and they all argue a lot. Echo's imprints tend to work together pretty well, but there is the case of that psychopathic misogynist Terry that accidentally got inside her head in Belle shows. Her soul puts in the effort to keep that imprint in check, not have it take any control over her, but it's still there, and if Echo were to have sex with Ballard, the man she loves, it would not be consented to by Terry and would be effectively raping him. In the case of Terry, I think that even though it's rape, I don't think it matters, because he's a psychopath without any redeeming qualities. Alpha is the inverse, though, because his soul is evil, and it's the collective good of the imprints that make him good in the future. You can't just point at the soul and say, that's the part that counts. The real answer is more fluid, based on context. The real question is, who do you think should be in control? I think that Echo should be in control of Terry. I think that Alpha's good sides should be in control of his psycho sides. If psycho killers are raped because of that, I don't really care. They are inherently beneath my respect. It becomes trickier if we move away from that extreme represented by the psychopaths, though. What if Echo were to have a good imprint that would never consent to sex with Ballard, when Echo the soul would? The imprint could be a lesbian, a straight man, asexual, suffering from trauma that would make any sexual activity highly triggering. What about rape victim Eleanor Penn? Would Echo be obligated not to have sex because she has this imprint that would otherwise receive full respect? What about the other way, with the imprint acting against the soul's wishes? What if Eleanor Penn was really attracted to Boyd and Echo didn't want to go there? I don't have a good answer for that. Anyway, to wrap up, the issue of Dollhouse rape is way more complex than most people realize. Though the show's narrative initially encourages us to feel sympathy only for the original personalities, through the course of the show, it leads us to reconceptualize of the person's identities and make us wonder who really has agency over their bodies. I suspect the feminists who really loudly complain about rape in Dollhouse never watched the show long enough to realize that, and I think it's a pity.